Okay, awesome. Thanks, everybody. Hello, everybody. Yeah, a lot of people here today, and a lot more responded to that they wanted to join, but I'm sure a lot of people want to see the recording, which will be available. Probably get sent to me about 2 hours after we've finished here, and then I will have to do a little editing to chop off some of the early bits, and I'm sure do some editing in the middle where I make all the mistakes, and then it will be ready. I've been a bit quiet, you may have noticed, over the last month. And it's mainly because I've been focusing on these new features, intraday features in EdgeRater. And it seems to be that whenever I get stuck into some project with EdgeRater, it kind of consumes a lot of time, and I get overly focused on that. But I've been through all that, and now I've come out the other side, so it feels pretty good. And I really like these features, which I've been using for, well, as I've been working on it for the last month. I've been using it, really appreciate them. And I released this program last week, and had a chat with a couple of you about the features and got some good feedback. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Paul and Ron, for that. And so I'm going to talk today about what we have with intraday data in the program. And there are three main areas where intraday data is used in the program. The first area is something that's always been has been in the program for, say, probably the last 4 or 5 years. I'm not sure how many people use the feature, but it's been there, and it's been improved a little bit now. And that was when you can populate, excuse me, I'm drinking some fizzy water, so that didn't help. Where you can populate a symbol list with an intraday bar. And EdgeRater always used to go to, there was one place, and at the moment still is one place where it would get intraday data from, which is your Thinkorswim desktop application. There will be more. I'll talk about that in a second. What you could do is populate a symbol list, any symbol list, with an intraday bar. So normally a symbol list contains historical data, all end of day data. And if you had access to an intraday source, you could click a button, it would populate a list with an intraday bar, and then you could run any template against that list. And the template would then run and give you the results, assuming that this bar, the open, high, low, close value, was the last daily bar. So that's always been working, still works, and works even better now. Also, you can run any scan script in the entries and exits tab. And this is something that I forgot a little bit to test. Sorry, Jim. And has now been fixed. There was a bit of an error in that. But any scan script in the program, you can run through the entries and exits tab and also get information for the very last, the current, let's say, the intraday bar. OHLCV is open, high, low, close, and volume. So the new things in the program are a real-time display of the intraday bar, open, high, low, close, and volume. It's possible to display, let's say this, it's possible to display the open, high, low, close, and volume actively in a report. I'll talk more about that in a second. And the two notes that are below here are actually just a repeat of the top area. And obviously I didn't, that's a mistake. So anyway, we'll talk about the real-time display of OHLCV. It's really going to be the last data point from the intraday data provider. But this is a very exciting thing, because this will be a report which updates. We'll show you in a second. It will be a report which updates live as the market is progressing, and you'll see the values change. You can have the report resort to show the biggest percent gainers at the top of the list. So that's a brand new thing. And then the third new thing is seeing the intraday data on a chart. So you could see that data before on a chart, if you populated a symbol list with an intraday bar, ran a report, when you looked at a chart, it would contain a static view of that intraday bar. It didn't change. Now that's linked to real-time data, and it changes. So I'm going to show all those features right now. Okay, and so question from just before we get started, for sure, there's these features are all available to everybody. But there is one caveat. I've produced a template which is called the Good, Bad, Ugly Intraday template, and that is part of the templates package. And if you are let's say a subscriber to the template data, the premium data, then you will have access to that too. If your subscription lapsed to the intraday, to the templates, then all you have to do is resubscribe to that premium data, and it will be included. But you can use all of these features without having that template. Just you might have to do a little bit more work to do that. So first off, in the program, what looks new here? If you go to the home area of the menu, you'll find an intraday options section. And the first thing is you can actually turn intraday off completely. So if it's getting if things are not looking the way that you expected them, or that they've always looked for you, you can just turn off intraday to just get back to ensure that you're always looking at end of day data. But by default, intraday is enabled. Now there's a couple of places listed in the intraday providers drop-down box. And this is the list of providers that are going to be available. Currently, the only provider that's currently working is the Thinkorswim or TOS provider. There's FMP, which is the financial modeling prep data provider. That's something that you would have to subscribe to separately, nothing to do with EdgeRater, but once you subscribe to them, you get an API key. You can enter it in here, and this will work. Currently, it's not working. If you try to click on there and say make that your default intraday provider, it will say it's not available. It's being worked on. That will be coming. So currently the only place to get intraday data from is with the Thinkorswim desktop program. I know some people don't have that, or some people can't even get that, depending on where you are located. And that's why new providers will be added in here. But if you do have Thinkorswim desktop program, it's a fantastic and very fast way of getting intraday data updated. So highly recommended to just continue using that rather than using any of the others if you're able to. Okay, so that's the first change you'll see. Now, in the first use case that's always been available has been the ability to click on. So once you've selected a symbol list over here on the left-hand side, you'll see the amount of data or the end date of historical data for that list. My list currently says the end date of my historical data is 6/28/21. There's a good reason for that. You might think it should say 7/2/21 because that was Friday, but I'm about to show a simulated intraday data, and the only simulation that Thinkorswim allows you to do is to go back a few days. So I'm going to simulate 6/29/21. That's why I have end of data up to 6/28/21 in my list. Now, in order to say populate a list with a last bar, which is your intraday bar, you just, as you always did, press this button here. And now the end of day, the time column changes from end of day to whatever the current date and time is that it fetched data from Thinkorswim. You'll notice there is, in doing this demo, there's going to be a bit of an issue because 7/3/21 is a Saturday. Markets are not open on a Saturday, but I'm running Thinkorswim in a demo mode. It's going to pretend like today is 6/29, but it's not going to actually provide me that date. So it just says whatever the current date is on here. So try not to worry too much about that as we go through this. When you run this during the regular day, it should say the right date and time. So once you've populated a list with data, you see the right time in there, you can run any template. So for instance, the 220 EMA upside breakout template, you could run. Let's just do that for fun. Okay, and now I'm looking at the information in this template is based off of that date and time of that intraday bar. And that never changes when you've populated a symbol list with that data. It is a one-shot deal. You populate the list with that data, and then you can run a template against that data. If you want to get more data or kind of refresh that list, you have to hit this button again. You'll see the time changes, and then you can run the template again. If you want to clear out the intraday data and just revert back to end of day data, you can press this button here, clear intraday data, and you'll see it goes back to just end of day. But by running this against the intraday, it's produced a report for intraday. My thinkorswim currently is set up, as I said, for, and I have it running over here. So you might be able to see that if I bring it over. One feature that's available in thinkorswim, I'm not sure that everybody knows about this, is the on-demand feature, where if you choose on-demand, there's a date and time box next to the on-demand box, and that will allow you to go back and just choose a trading day that it will start to simulate. You choose the date and then the time, click on go, and it will then pretend that that's the day, and it will give you the charts in thinkorswim for that trading day. But that's a very useful testing feature to test the intraday capability of EdgeRater here. So that's what I'm doing, and you see the date I've got is June 29th, and the time 0704. This is Pacific Standard Time. So in the Pacific Northwest, the markets, the US, the New York markets open at 6:30 a.m. Pacific time. So 7:04, markets have been open for half an hour already. Okay, so I'm going to close that down, come over here. And so now this report obviously is based on that data. If I wanted to find, for instance, I can click on enter today in the 220 EMA upside breakout. This is data based off of the current bar. I did mention that one of the third item in the list is the charts now update real time. So you can see the bar generated here for QDEL is actually an intraday bar, and it will actually update live. So currently it's 131.59, and if you looked in, and now it's changed to 131.72. So you can see that's moving. That is the bar that's coming from thinkorswim. So yeah, that has triggered a 220 EMA upside breakout. So you can do things like that on any template, running against intraday data, and it will show you the information as if the very last bar is an end of day bar, but it's really using intraday data. So that feature has always been available in the program. So the next thing, and I think exciting thing for me is that there's a new template in the system called the good, bad, ugly intraday template. If you're wondering where this is, you have to make sure that you have got the latest data. So you've got the latest template. So up here on the upper left-hand side, you should find that all of the traffic lights are green, meaning you've got the latest templates, end of day data, and options implied volatility data. If any of them are red, you need to press get latest data. And if your premium data subscription has expired, this will give you an option to renew it when you click on that button. So that's a good way to do that. And to find out what is new in the program, whenever there's a new template, you can go to the what's new area and go to the latest one, June 21. You can find out here is just a list of everything that's been added into the system. And it will tell you where the new template is. So good, bad, ugly, intraday, this feature is in the category hot topics. So you can go down to hot topics, and you can find good, bad, ugly, intraday, wherever that is. And this is now one of my favorites. So I place this, I click on the star next to it, and then it will appear in my favorites category. So it's at the top of my favorites category. Okay, so now I'm just going to run this template. And I'm running this on the list of CBOE weeklies. This is a list of 645 stocks. You can run this on any list, providing that symbol is available in the whatever data provider you're using, Thinkorswim, it should work fine. For people who started using this last week, you'll notice I made a change today. So there is a new template update today, which includes a rank column. So after you've run the template, the very first time you run it, it's going to be sorted in order of the prior day's gains, the prior day's percent gains. So the day column over here, which is the last end of day bar. So it's sorted in that order. These bars, these columns here, F, G, and H, are the intraday bar, and it's hooked up to the intraday provider. In this case, it's Thinkorswim. And these values are updating. As you can see, they're updating as we talk in real time. It's whenever new data is available in Thinkorswim, it gets there's a message sent, and then EdgeRater will fetch that data, and it's approximately every couple of seconds that we'll get new data for a symbol, something like that. Okay, so you can see the last value is being updated. There's also a percent column, and that is just purely a calculation of what the difference is between the last value and the close. Now, close and all of the columns A, B, C, D, and E represent the last historical end of day data you have. So 628 is the last date, the last bar in your symbol list, essentially. 628, and the close on 628 is 2826 for AVXL, and the last intraday value retrieved from Thinkorswim is 2650. That represents a negative 8.2% decrease, or increase or decrease, negative 8%. And that's updating. It's rank 645, meaning that out of the 645 stocks, this is the worst performing stock in this list for the day. So you can sort by rank. That's always could be useful. So the best performing stock here is Marathon, M-A-R-A, and it's yesterday closed. And when I say yesterday, I'm talking obviously about 628.21. Closed at 30.11, and today at just a half an hour after the market's open, it's at 33.15. This is 10.1% gain, so it's ranked number one. As the day goes on, these numbers are obviously going to change. So what I did just now, you saw me, I sorted it by clicking on once on this header in terms of rank. As the day progresses, these are not going to stay the same ranks. In fact, I saw them just change. So for instance, you can see that mRNA, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then after mRNA is Alcoa is now rank 10, but it's now listed in the same order that it was listed before. There's no resorting occurring here as the values change. So one of the things that you have an option to do is to force the report to resort every time there's new data. And you can do that with this new section in the menu up here. With the resort button. So you click on the resort button up here. And now what you'll find is that as the values come in, the report will resort. Stocks will move around on here. It's optional. It's optional whether you want to have this. That's why there's obviously an option feature, because sometimes you actually don't want the report to resort. You're looking at a particular stock. You've clicked on the stock over here. You're looking at the charts. You know that you're looking at other values in a row to find out, what the gain was for the last day, week, or month, or whatever the report is showing. So you don't want that to keep moving around all the time. So in those cases, you can turn off resort. But if what you're trying to do is just find out what the latest best stocks are for the day, you can, in this case, you can just have resort, and it's going to resort the report after an update based on whatever sort you have in the report. And what I mean by that is you don't always have to be sorting by rank. You could sort by previous day's gain in a let's say an ascending sort. So if you've got that sort set in, then when it does a resort, it's going to continue to sort by that column. Now, because that's using end of day data, that's never going to change. But if I click on rank, the rank is actually basing itself off of current changing data. And so because that's my current sort, it's going to change based on the new data that's coming in. So I hope that makes sense. Now, some other things that are useful to do with this, we're currently only looking at the last bar, okay, last here. This is coming from Thinkorswim as the last bar. We're not using open, high, low, and close and volume in here. So this report, this template is something that I delivered as an example. It's a very good example because it's the good, bad, ugly template, which gives you so much information about the performance of a stock over the last day, week, month, and year, and then prior days, prior weeks, prior months, and prior years. There's so much information in here in terms of performance that it's a really good one to add this intraday set of columns to. But you could go ahead and add these. You could add, say, the volume column, a volume column, or an open column, whatever you want. I'll show you how to do that in a second. Now, what is also useful sometimes is as the market is, and I'll come to some of these questions in a second. I am monitoring the chat, so I'll have a read of that in a second. As the market progresses through the day and these stocks change, it's sometimes useful to know what the change has been. Okay, so it's always nice to know what the current best stock is on the day, but sometimes you might want to know what the change is since you last looked at it. So one thing that you can do, and you can do in any EdgeRater report, is you can say allow editing. So you can actually edit this report and add your own columns. And one of the things that is useful to do is select, say, let's try these two columns. Okay, so I've basically selected these two columns. I can say copy column. It's a feature that's been in the program for a while. I can go over to a column where I'd like to insert that information, and I can say insert copied column. It'll take a little while because what it's trying to do is match up the symbols. You'll notice that they're changing. The column order is changing, so it's trying to match up the symbols to put that information in. So we'll give it a few seconds to do that. Hopefully that will work. There we go. Okay, and what it's done here, let's come down. Yeah, so if I turn off resort, that's confusing us at the second. So what it's done, it's taken a copy of these values which are changing over here. These are changing values, and it's inserted just the value that doesn't ever change. So it's taken a snapshot of essentially of these columns, and it's put them in as just pure values, so they don't change. So now you've got a record of what the percent gain was at the time that you did the copy and the insert. And just to keep aware of what that represents, you can actually, because this is a fully editable report, you can just say what time, for instance, you made that change, or what time you added that column. And currently the Thinkorswim is showing 7:16. So I could say 7:16 a.m. percent gain. This one too, I won't bother changing that for now. So that's the value at 7:16 a.m. And then this is the value still, the intraday data right now. Okay, so it's still ranked 1, but it's currently got a 9.2% gain. When at 716, it had a 9.1% gain. And so there is a difference, as you can see. So what you might also be interested in doing, and this is just an example. I'm not saying this is what you have to do, but this is some of the things. These are some of the things you can do in the program if you're monitoring the markets intraday. Maybe there's a certain point that you want to fix on. For instance, if there's a Fed announcement for the occurring during the day, maybe you want to take a snapshot of the gains prior to the announcement and then after the announcement to see what has really been moving. So what I can do here is I can right click and say insert column. And this is just, it's purely a spreadsheet like any Excel spreadsheet. So I'm able to enter formulas in here. So I could say this equals the value at now, essentially, the real-time value minus the 7:16 a.m. value. Okay. And I will make that a percent column. So let me just do that. Number format for that should be percentage. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is Control C to copy that, and then I'm going to select all the cells below here in normal Excel use and press Control V to paste that down. And now what I have is an updating column of the difference. So I'm going to say diff here. All right, so now if I sort by the diff column, I'm now looking at, and I'll say resort as well, I'm now looking at stocks that are that have the biggest difference between now, between 7:16 a.m. and now. So that's just another way that you can have this, use this. And I like to run this, and I haven't personally been using this type of feature or this ability. What I've been doing in the last, well, definitely last week, is just running the template and leaving the report open for the entire day, and just monitoring what's moving. Essentially, it's really nice to have that ability. One thing, I was talking with some people last week, and Paul and Ron both mentioned an ability in Thinkorswim, and I'll show you how to use that right now because it's quite useful. Say you wanted to, I'm sorting it again by rank here. You wanted to add charts in Thinkorswim. You wanted to add charts of the top 16 stocks for the day from this list. So I have sorted by rank, and now I can just go down through the symbol column. I'm not going to resort here. See that's messed up my my ordering. I'm going to turn off resort, and I'm just going to sort by rank, and I'll take the top 16. So I'm just highlighting those symbols. I'm Control C, that's copy. And then what you can do, and I might have to kind of set this up properly in Thinkorswim, but you do have the ability here to go and create a watch list, and I'll call this a 16. I'll call it top 16. And you can say add symbol. Nope. You can say, I need to say import symbols somehow. Import, there we go. Paste symbols from clipboard and then click OK. So all of those symbols are in there. So that's the first step. So 16 symbols in there. And then there's quite a nice feature here where you can click on the grid layout. I'll have to try and remember how to use this. I was shown this. And you say load symbols to cells from my watch list called top 16. Top 16. Thank you very much, Imran and Paul. Top 16, and there we go. Now, of course, I need to have a chart which has got a 4x4 grid on it. And then, of course, I have to go and do that process again. Load symbols to cells from personal top 16 here. Okay, so now you have a Thinkorswim screen set up of the current top 16 from whatever report you're looking at in EdgeRater. So that's quite a nice little feature I was shown. I thought it'd be useful to for other people to use as well. Okay, So the other, as you know, when you're running EdgeRater and you've produced reports, all of the reports are linked in some way, normally by symbol. So if I go back to templates, another report I like to have open all the time is the expected move report. And if I run that against this list, that's now going to use the data for 628. I've made sure that I've got 628 in here. It's end of day data. So now I've got expected move based on implied volatility for all of those stocks. And I like to organize my screen by dragging this. And you can see when I drag this around the screen, I can actually drop it into an area below here. So I can stack these reports. And reports are automatically linked together so that whenever I click on a symbol in one report, for instance, I'll click on Mara over here, that symbol will come to the top of the other report. So it's currently showing Mara in my expected move report, which is giving me the IV number, currently 110%, which 110% implied volatility sounds a lot until you realize that with Mara, it's actually an IV rank of 2, which means it's the lowest implied volatility that Mara has been in a year. So quite a low implied volatility for Mara. And you can see the implied volatility down here on the report. So, and you can see what it currently is now. IV30 is down here, which is quite low for Marathon Digital Holdings. Okay. So then if you find something that's moving in the day, something that's up or making a move, has a big difference from one intraday point to another, looking at the expected move tells you the implied volatility number and the implied volatility rank. You can then make a good decision as to what, if you're going to be trading options, as to what kind of option strategy you would like to use. You might, for instance, with very low implied volatility, you might just be best off buying or selling puts and calls because, you know, the rank of implied volatility is low. And so if you try and sell premium when the implied volatility rank is low, there's, I would say, a good chance that the rank is going to go higher, and you can end up in a worse situation. Whereas just buying cheap premium is good with options with low implied volatility ranks, because it's always, when you look at stocks that are moving and you come over to look at options, you often find that the options are just crazy in terms of their implied volatility. And so even when you're trying to buy calls and puts, you're paying so much in premium because of the high implied volatility numbers that it's really hard to make a profit on those options. So so this is a good little check. If you find something you like the look of, and low price stocks, so buying options on low price stocks is not the best idea, but something that's, you know, of a reasonably high value, where you can't afford to pay the $683 per share for MicroStrategy, you could potentially end up in an options trade. But when you look over at MicroStrategy, you can see that it's 87% implied volatility, and that's at a rank of 33 and 59 respectively. And the two different ranks, by the way, are, one is based on the count. So that's how many over the last, they're both based on a full year, but count is how many bars in that year have been higher implied volatility. And whereas range is, over the last year, there's been a range of high to low, and this is where it's currently sitting within that range. So there's two ways of measuring the rank. So these are kind of middling numbers, and just outright buying options here is it doesn't seem to be the best thing to do. Now, what you can also do on here is just sort by rank, find out what is currently the lowest implied volatility, that they've been experiencing for a year. So, and this is this is quite interesting. Of course, when you look at this, you've got to also look over at the chart. Okay, so even though Occugen has an IV rank of 0, doesn't have a full year of data in for me to look at. So I can't, like, that's not a good. I like to have something that actually has a year's worth of implied volatility value. So we'll go down through all of these, and we're not seeing full year's worth of data. But once we get to NUGT, we'll find a full year of data. So this does have a very low IV rank. But once I click on that, then you'll notice that the upper report with the intraday data has also brought NUGT to the top of the report. If I had resort on here, that wouldn't actually be very good, because it would quickly sort that out and just show me the top percent gainers. That's not what I'm trying to do here. So I have resort turned off to make sure that doesn't move. But I can then just, this is kind of another way of looking at the data, or kind of slicing the data, is instead of looking at the top gainers and then looking at the bottom report and finding what has low implied volatility, you could do it the other way around and then look for low implied volatility and just keep an eye as you scroll down through this list on your top report to find out what has positive percent gains for the day. So that's another way of doing it. All right, so that's that. Now the other, I already mentioned charts. So we've seen the top two of my list of ways that intraday data is used in the program, and we've also seen it working on charts. So we've seen all three mechanisms. Is there anything else with intraday data that's been interesting? I'll take a look at some of the questions now. So, okay, Ron says that FPH is available worldwide. FPH, is that the FMP? Is that the FMP provider, financial modeling prep? Yes, okay. So FMP is available worldwide. So that's the thing with Thinkorswim, is that it's not available in every country. So some people are unable to get Thinkorswim, and in which case the FMP will be the one to use as soon as that is available. That's something I'm working on next. Okay, Imran, you had an issue with the template. I think I can't obviously address that here, but we can talk about that in email. Okay, Dave McMullen says, not all my symbols update. You have the pound value. Yeah, so with that one, Dave, I would sometimes, so you have to make sure that you have Thinkorswim running and EdgeRater running. What I find that happens sometimes is if you've had Thinkorswim running for a long time and you haven't closed it down, then when you try to access their real-time data, they don't necessarily always give you the value that you want. And you might get the pound value thing. So I would recommend to try it out. Just close down both programs, open up Thinkorswim, open up EdgeRater, try again. And that should work. Yeah, so Imran says that TOS is not available in China. So, yep, that's an example. Also, I believe, I'm not sure about the status in the UK, but I should know that. So let's see, you're talking about Bend has a high implied volatility. Let's have a look, see if we can find it. For some reason, I can't find that. Probably that's the wrong symbol. Oh, BNED, sorry. I'm misreading that. BNED. Okay, a Barnes & Noble. So Barnes & Noble, yes, 109% implied volatility. Look over on the right, though. We don't have a full set of information for that. So it's basically saying when it's looking at the ranks, it's 100 based on the amount of data that's actually available. But yes, that's high implied volatility for a company like Barnes & Noble for sure. You want to know what the highest implied volatility is for these this list of CBOE weeklies? It's currently AMC. I guess that's not really a surprise. However, AMC has 191% implied volatility, but that is its rank in terms of the range where it's been over the last year. It's only 21% of the highest value, and the highest value was achieved. I'm going to say, no, it must have been before that, right? Yeah, the highest value was achieved January the 27th with 539% implied volatility in AMC. So currently it's only 191%. Is it warranted to have such a high implied volatility in something like AMC? Well, it does certainly move in very unexpected ways. So anyone who's trying to sell premium, he could get really screwed unless the implied volatility was high enough to make them comfortable. So it probably does warrant that. One of the things to look at on the chart is that gives you an idea as to whether the implied volatility is warranted is to look at this shaded area. That's your expected move that has been aligned correctly with price. So for instance, this big spike up in price here in AMC gave an extremely high implied volatility, which meant that the expected move for 30 days from that date is out here. So anytime you see a bar inside the expected move bands, it means that the implied volatility was high enough to encompass the actual future price. Anytime you see the price outside of those bands, it means that the implied volatility was not high enough to encompass that move. So for instance, right here, where AMC on 526 starts crossing outside the upper expected move band, the implied volatility 30 days prior was not high enough to encompass that. So this was a big unexpected move here. But as you can see, the current expected move with AMC is it's expected to go down to between $17, $18, and $145. So people have no idea about this. And Ron is saying that TOS is not available in England, but FMP works well in England. So that's great. Thank you, Ron. Okay, and then I have a question over here. Okay, so Ross is saying that could I show how to set the end of day back in time like I did? Because you can see where you might want to practice with this historically. Absolutely. I think this is just useful for everybody to know as well. On a symbol list has backing data associated with it or historical data. So a symbol list is really two parts. It's the list of symbols, just really text symbols, and then it's the historical backing data. And that's brought together in EdgeRater in what is termed a snapshot of data. And if you click on the edit symbol list icon up here, you'll find the list of symbols in one of these tabs, the symbol list, that comes in the first tab. The data snapshot tells you how much data you currently have associated with that symbol list. So it tells you the from and the to date for all of the symbols. And then the data update options allow you to specify a range of data to fetch. And what that means is every time you press the end of day button, it's going to fetch that much data for the list. And it also has a data provider associated with it, because sometimes you're going to get your data from EdgeRater, sometimes you'll want to get your data from HDSI, and there are some other places that you can get data from as well. And I should also say that if you make a change to any of the symbol lists that have brackets around them, like the CBOE weeklies, the Dow Industrials, any of the ones that've got these square brackets around them, these are system maintained files, so your changes will not persist on the next update. So it's useful to make change like I have if you just want that to last for a day. before the next update. But if you're trying to do something that's going to last forever, you want to create a new list. And it's one of these lists down here, for example. I have another CBOE weeklies list, and this one has got data through to 7/2/21, but I can change that to be whatever I want, and it would not be affected on the next update. All right, so Imran is asking a question about is it possible to find stocks that are catching a bid through increasing implied volatility rank? And that depends. I'm assuming I should mention also, and I'm assuming that you're talking about implied volatility is not calculated for an intraday bar. You'll notice as I go to the chart, the intraday bar, it has a volume, an open, high, low, close, and a volume. But look down to the implied volatility number. There is no implied volatility for an intraday bar. The reason for that is that that is data that's calculated on our servers, on EdgeRater servers. It's calculated nightly. So there's a nightly update for the entire options database. And we have a process which goes through and calculates implied volatility for all the stocks and delivers that on a nightly basis. So it doesn't have the data for the implied volatility for an intraday bar. So what I would do is if I was looking for something that yesterday had a very low implied volatility, then obviously you're going to put that into your trading program before you make a trade, and I would make sure and check that the implied volatility is still okay in whatever trading program you're using. Okay, so anyway, I'm excited about these intraday features. I got some pretty good feedback from folks last week, which was really nice. I did say I was going to show you how you can. Let's take a look at let's take a look at a report produced by the program. So this is a report which I'm viewing inside EdgeRater. Every report that you run in EdgeRater lives in your reports folder on your hard drive and is actually an Excel file, a true Microsoft Excel file, an SX file. So if you open up your reports folder, you'll find, and you sort it in terms of date, you'll find that the last templates you ran produced those reports. Okay, so I ran, the last one I ran was options expected move, but the one before that was the good, bad, ugly intraday. If I open that up inside Excel, so I've just double clicked on that and it's come up over here. Right, so now I'm not, this is completely aside from EdgeRater. This is just using Excel, okay? This report is still updating with data, live updating real-time data from Thinkorswim. Okay, so sometimes you may be more comfortable working in Excel and adding columns and writing formulas in Excel. You may prefer that to EdgeRater. So just come over and add columns in here, write formulas in here. If you're trying to detect if price is moving above a certain level, you can write a formula in Excel to detect that, to maybe give you a true or a false value. And then once you've saved that on the hard drive, so you notice I just added a column here, I didn't add anything in it. I could come back over to EdgeRater and open that file back up again. Okay, so then I can open up that file I just opened in Excel, and it's appeared down here. So here it is, and you see it's got this extra column that's been added, and it's still hooked up to, or should be still hooked up to live data. Yeah, 2614, that just updated. So it works back and forth with Excel. Now, when the new data provider any new data providers are added, they will not update in Excel. they will still work in EdgeRater, but when you open up the report in Excel, it won't update with live data. And the reason for that is that Thinkorswim has a special, what is called real-time data service. And if you click on one of these intraday columns, you'll see the formula here is real-time data. It's using the tos.rtd DLL on your file system, and it has to have Thinkorswim installed. And this really is only for Thinkorswim. But when we have the FMP provider working, that will update here in EdgeRater, no problem. So the other thing, there's lots of little things that keep coming up. But currently I'm looking at the last bar, okay? What if I wanted to look at the open, or the high, or the low, or the close? Well, the way that that's specified in Thinkorswim is changing the name here from last to, maybe change it to open. And now I'm looking at the open value for that one row. And this is just the way that the real-time data works with its link between Thinkorswim and Excel. And it's just, I've just used that kind of format with EdgeRater too. So you can put open in here. If you opened that up in EdgeRater, it would show the open price in there too. You can change the template. Let me show you the template, the good, bad, ugly intraday template. Let me find that. So that will be in Documents, EdgeRater Templates System. Yeah, over here. And sort by date modified. That is the last template that was done. All right. And then if we look at the values here, you'll see that the way that templates are written is that there's just one row, which is your example, essentially, example stock. And then the formulas for the rows are put in. So I could change that to be, say, open in here, or what I could do is copy that and insert it in here. And so I could put in, and once you've done something like that, you always have to make sure you're referencing the right cells. So I could say, make sure we're referencing close price, we're referencing symbol, sorry, here. Okay, messed that up. So go back here. We're referencing the symbol cell. And I want to use the open price, for instance. Okay. And I can change the header to be open. And then I can say file, save a copy, and I'll save it into just templates folder. And I'll call it my GBE, a good bad GBU, my GBU. Save that. And then if I come back over to templates and I look in my templates, oh, you know what I just did? I didn't save it there. I saved that in a completely different location. So let's just find that. My GBU, copy that, and I'll put that into Documents, EdgeRater Templates. Here, my GBU. All right, now if I come into EdgeRater under my templates, then I have this new template that I've just written, which is really a change to a template. You see it's got an open, it's got a last and an open. I can run this now against the entire symbol list. And so that will produce a report that also has last and open for every stock. That's the way that templates work. And so you can see this report now has last and open. So just a way, that's how you can write your own templates using those real-time data points. So Tom asks if you can pull in the bid and the ask. Thinkorswim does allow you to do that. You'll have to do a little research for the correct terms to use. So it would be something like equals RTD, that's real-time data, toss RTD, and then this kind of topic name here is very specific to Thinkorswim. So if you're looking at the bid, it might just be bid, but it might not. If I type in bid, does it update with something? It does actually. So yes, it would be bid. But there is a document in Thinkorswim about all of the topic names you can use here. So I know I can use volume. Okay, so if I then ran this as a template, those would be included in your report too. However, when there's a new data provider, the FMP provider will not support all of those fields that are available in Thinkorswim, like bid and ask. It will only have open, high, low, close, and volume. But Thinkorswim does have some extra things that you can pull in. Okay. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, thanks everybody. So yes, it's I like the feature, and I hope everyone can experiment with it and have it open during the day. I think you'll find it quite useful. If you have any issues with it, please let me know. It is currently, something that's just been released. I've done quite a lot of testing and fixed a number of issues, but I'm sure there are others that are going to come up, or maybe you're going to have a better way of using the template that will benefit from some additional work, for instance. And so, I would be interested in finding out if there's like a really great use case. I can always adjust the software to make that work really well. Do you get chart and report in the same window? I do have my reports and charts set up to be in the same window. Essentially on the reports viewer tab, I do have that set. You'll notice that there is an option if you go to the home area and you go to system settings, you could choose to use a standalone reports viewer. So every time you produce a report, it will not add it to this reports viewer tab. It will pop it out in a separate window. But I don't have that. I like to keep, but otherwise what happens is you end up with quite a few windows open, and I prefer to have all my windows encompassed by a main EdgeRater window. So now all my reports are contained in here, which is nice. And then the chart is also in there. You can always, even if the reports and the charts and the chart is contained inside this reports viewer, you can still drag them by left clicking with your mouse and dragging the report to somewhere else, some other screen. It's just that its parent is this reports view, so it will always go back there and dock there if needed. So I can dock it back in here if I want to. But I find that a better way of working. But I know some people have massive screens, like a big massive screen, and actually prefer to have lots and lots of different windows up on the screen. So if that's your preference, you can certainly do that in the settings of the program. Okay. Your EdgeRater features. What is the best path to refresh of how to? So Ross asks that what is the best? So he'd like to do an overview of the EdgeRater features. And what's the best path to refresh how to use the features, adjust charts and reports? I think the best path right now is to take a look at what's available in the YouTube channel. That information is quite up to date. So let me just ensure that's. I have another screen over here, so excuse me while I just do that. So if I come up to YouTube, now let's see, I'm probably gonna, yep. So I can search for the EdgeRater channel, and I should have that here. So in the EdgeRater channel, if you look for getting started with EdgeRater, that would be a good spot. If I click on EdgeRater, it's going to show me the actual channel. And if you scroll down through here, you'll find the latest videos in order. And then there are some categorized videos. So how to test a trade idea, how to use EdgeRater with HDSI. That was a series recently I did. Spotlight, that is the videos that are worth taking a look at, that they're all worth taking a look at, but that's that. And then there isn't a category for getting started. There used to be a category where I put all the getting started videos, but now there's that one single getting started video that's recommended. That's the very latest, the latest one. To find that in here, you can always just do a search for getting started. And then this is 1 year old, so it's not too bad. Okay. This one down here is 7 years old, so it's probably not, it's still worth seeing maybe, but not as useful as this one here. So that definitely would be the way to do it. And if there's a big call for it, then we can do another getting started with all the latest things. I think I wouldn't mind doing that. So if people would like that, I will do it. Can you change the color of moving averages? Yes, you can, but it's not as straightforward as just selecting a color. So for instance, I have a chart here, and this chart is showing some moving averages. Let me choose the layout that I have for, to make this a bit simpler. My layouts, I've just got two layouts. I've got, I've got two indicators here, two moving averages. And there's no option for changing the color. And it really, the color that gets assigned just depends on the order in which you add the indicators to the chart. Okay. If you have a particular color that you need to use for a moving average, then you have to have a script which defines that color. Unfortunately, that's the way that works. So you could set a moving average to be red. If you had, for instance, a four-way moving average with 4 different periods, then in that script, you can put comma and then color red, color, whatever color you want for each of the averages. And there will always be that color no matter what order you add them to the chart. So that's the way you do that. And this is kind of, I'm sorry, I kind of have, well, I've just been trying to answer some of the questions here. We went a bit off topic, but that's okay. I do want to wrap this up, and I really appreciate everybody for coming and listening to this. Hope you like the feature, and let me know, please, if you find it useful. It's always good to know. I kind of work in a little bit of isolation without any feedback, but it's nice to get some feedback on how these features are working. So please let me know. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thanks. I'm going to close this down now. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a happy no, not Thanksgiving, is it? It's the Independence Day. That's correct. Happy Independence Day to everybody. Of course, today is July 3rd, which I like to call Dependence Day. So happy Dependence Day today, and happy Independence Day tomorrow. Bye for now.